Welcome to AVIC's Breakdown. We've got a wild one for you tonight. Joining us is Joe Triple Trunk Belly, described as the head of the global beef industry. Let's dive right into this segment and break it all down.
And by being weak, unlike other people that you watch, he's a weak person.
I know what Mr. Trump is. He is a racist, he is a con man, and he is a cheat. Mr. Trump called me a rat for choosing to tell the truth, much like a mobster would do when one of his men decides to cooperate with the government.
But you know, he's a sleazebag. Everybody knows that.
Tonight, Michael Cohen and Donald Trump are reunited, and apparently it feels so good. Cohen has called him a...
Reunited, 'cause it feels so good. Reunited, 'cause we understand. Peaches and Herb? Never mind. It was Abby's fault.
a Cheeto-dusted cartoon villain and was the star witness in the trial against Trump, which led to a 34 felony count conviction. He even went to jail for, among other things, crimes he claimed were committed at the direction of Trump. But now Cohen says that that's all water under the bridge, and we'll play that sound in a moment. But first, prior to the clip, Cohen asked his followers, can forgiveness resurrect what hatred destroyed? Well, the answer appears to be yes.
But it is.
Slow clap.
His therapist looked proud. But is this about the two of them having gone through some cathartic, moment, or is it about their incentives aligning? That Michael Cohen, we know he has a sitting pardon before the DOJ. He's gave it to the Biden administration. It's still there in front of Trump now. He wants a pardon, and Trump wants the star witness to recant his testimony in a case that he wants thrown out.
Politics makes odd bedfellows, for sure, and this one may take the cake. I don't know if I saw this one coming by a mile stretch. Yeah, certainly there's some sort of personal mission profile set up for both these guys somehow that I don't see and don't really care to see. I do think it's very interesting in a week that had Natalie Harp kind of deliberating the whole issue around her. This guy was really connected all the dots for the authorities for previous affairs that had happened in Trump's life. And history's a great predictor of the future. I think we've seen a lot of these dots show up. We've seen a lot of these issues. We've seen infidelity that's been well documented. We've seen the other issues, open hot mics, the whole nine yards. This is going to be interesting to watch play out.
Michael Cohen also made a claim in his Substack and in an interview with Jake Tapper today, where he said, I felt pressured and coerced to not only provide information and testimony that would satisfy the government's desire to build the cases against and secure a judgment and convictions against President Trump. Mm-hmm. This is one of the reasons that a lot of people said Michael Cohen's a terrible witness. You can't hang a case on him. Mm-hmm. What does this do? I mean, Ellie Honig earlier today said that this undermines that case, that hush money case against him.
Guys, someone needs to get Joe something to eat because he sounds like he's completely losing the plot. This isn't optimism, it's pure delusion. The idea that everyone else is simply exaggerating about Trump is exactly the kind of thinking we're talking about. The reality is that many Republicans seem less concerned about Trump's words and actions when they don't feel personally targeted by them. So when Trump makes controversial comments about immigrants, minorities, or Barack and Michelle Obama, people like Joe can easily dismiss the outrage because they don't believe it affects them directly. That makes it easy for him to imagine that everyone will eventually put their differences aside and come together. But given Trump's history and the division surrounding him, that kind of optimism may be far more unrealistic than he wants to admit.
Well, he was just Donald Trump, his country club. And you were playing tennis and you came off the court. And here's how it was written in Vanity Fair. Somehow Trump's attention was diverted to another skirt walking off a tennis court. Quote, look at that piece of ass. Cohen recalls Trump saying as he whistled and pointed, quote, I would love some of that. It so happened that Trump was referring to Cohen's then 15-year-old daughter, Samantha. Do you remember that moment? Because it goes on to write that after that, you came over, he wanted you to give him a kiss. And he said, when did you get such a great figure?
So as I told Emily, the story is a little bit less clear to me. I'm sure many women can relate. You become desensitized to men making these kinds of comments to you, and you allow them to go over your head and you kind of tune out the noise. But what stood out to me in that moment was he said to my dad, well, there's no way that she got her looks from you. Thank God you married a beautiful woman. And I was desensitized to men making creepy comments about me, but I was not desensitized to someone blatantly insulting and degrading my father in front of me, someone who I looked up to and loved very much. And that was very upsetting to me. And that made me think, okay, maybe Trump doesn't treat my father so well.
And I do want to get
incident in any number of contexts, but this Stormy Daniels hush money thing always stunk to high heaven. And Michael Cohen obviously seemed like someone who was being extremely pressured to turn against the president in order to keep himself out of jail and further trouble. But this was one of several attempts to get the president on something like a tax evasion kind of circumstance. The thing about it is that the president of the United States, rather than having these things done to him and then demonstrating how this was politically motivated and not something that should happen, has doubled down on this tactic and has done it in the most extreme and absurd ways, going so far as to personally sue all sorts of people for saying things about him, and in many cases intimidating them into going about agreeing to settlements. I mean, it is heaping injury on top of injury and making our politics far, far, far worse and more toxic. But yeah, Michael Cohen does, in fact, have a point about those cases. The challenge for Michael Cohen and his newfound former friend, his erstwhile now restored friend, is that Donald Trump is continuing to do exactly the same sort of stuff. This is egregious and awful, and I think it undermines our best tradition in terms of jurisprudence
just to be clear, he says,
and integrity.
I felt pressured, okay? Not I was pressured.
He was facing jail.
I felt pressured.
They're all crooks.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're going to claim you were pressured,
Exactly.
then just say it. But he's saying I had a feeling, which is not the same thing as this was actually what happened.
Yeah, no, the problem with this whole thing is when you listen to what Michael Cohen said about the experience of working with Donald Trump. The indictment goes far beyond anything. I hear your point on Stormy Daniels, but the indictment that he makes, the way he recounts working for Trump, the racism, the intimidation of people who opposed him, et cetera, that's a much bigger set of issues. So I agree with you. First of all, there's no evidence he was coerced or pressured. But beyond that, Michael Cohen had a moment where he actually seemed to lay bare a larger set of truths about Donald Trump that other people have been too scared to say.
Although
I don't know how he walks that back now.
There's kind of the standard litany against Trump.
But
and
he also-
And I think
he's
also,
racist
like,
and misogynist.
even all of those things you could.
That isn't optimism. It's straight up denial. The idea that everyone else is simply exaggerating about Trump completely ignores the pattern of his words and behavior. For many Republicans, these controversies may feel distant because they don't believe Trump is personally targeting them. So when he makes offensive or inflammatory comments about immigrants, minorities, or the Obamas, they can dismiss the criticism as partisan outrage. It's easy to talk about everyone coming together when you don't feel directly affected, but imagine if Trump suddenly pushed a policy that threatened something Joe Belly deeply cared about, like the beef industry. I'm sure his reaction would be very different. Suddenly, the issue wouldn't seem so easy to ignore.
You know, I think your point, Camille, is well taken, that his incentives have always been to protect himself.
Yes.
And even when he was a resistance figure, he was a problematic resistance figure. And the problematic nature of Michael Cohen is still there today.
Well, he's incredibly problematic. I think the president would agree with you on that. Look, he came out and he did say he was pressured. He said he tried to get out of testifying several times. He said that he was told he was subpoenaed and he had no other choice. He was pressured to say a lot of disparaging, awful things about the president. He said at one point, people tried to tell him to say that he wasn't sure if the president had ever been physically violent with Melania, and they were angry at him for outright denying that fact. He was definitely pressured into saying horrific things about the president. This was the star witness, as you said, incredibly problematic, but that's who they chose. And President Trump said several times that he was a victim of a corrupt prosecution of left-leaning attorneys and politicians, and their star witness just proved them to be 100% correct.
Here's what he said about whether he takes back the things that he testified to. This is both what he said about what Trump said in January and what he said back in January in response to Trump, and then what he said today. So listen to both of these.
He took back everything he said in court, took it all back.
You did not recant your testimony on the witness stand.
No.
What's he referring to?
I have no idea. He makes
I have no idea. Am I the only one that thinks he sounds funny? I have no idea.
things up.
I respect the fact that you recanted everything you said, and that's a big thing that you did.
You're not going to discuss things you said in the past, but you're not retracting anything, right? I mean, you're not taking anything back.
Like I said, I refuse to go back in time. What I said was said, and that's where I stand with it.
Like I said, I have no idea.
That's interesting. He could have said when he had Trump online, "Hey, I didn't recant."
I don't know.
He needs the pardon.
That's right.
It's like, what do you even believe is a legit question with all of this, but also he has had many opportunities to, in fact, take it back. Why won't he do it?
The problem with Michael Cohen and his testimony and the things he said over the years is that we can't all now selectively pick and choose when Michael Cohen was truthful, when he was lying, when he was against Trump, when he was for Trump. That's why most prosecutors who sat down with Michael Cohen made the determination without bringing any charge, an indictment or used his testimony to not make him the star witness of a trial. He was always fundamentally flawed. I will say something that's not cynical about the whole Trump and Cohen interview. I listened to it live, and it was somewhat interesting. And in his lead-up, he made up a really interesting point. He basically said that so many people are consumed with hating Trump and hating Michael Cohen, and they're people that have never met the two. And his point was that if I can make up with Trump and talk to him, and he could talk to me, you know, maybe there's some light at the end of the tunnel for the Trump derangement system that we're in. Yeah. And as you said before, like we're going to have this period of post-Trump where we aren't even know what to do with ourselves. Maybe Michael Cohen is the harbinger of a post-Trump peace.
Okay, wow. Didn't see that one coming. That's not what I'm hoping
That's the most optimistic thing I've heard all year.
Trying to be nice, you know.
Well done. Well done.
We shall see if Michael Cohen is the harbinger of things to come. All right.
That's all for this breakdown, guys. Let me know your thoughts on everything we covered in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps support the channel and spread the message. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.